Hello guys, Omni here. We're going to be picking back up with Supergirl this week with today's video talking about this week's episode. We covered last week's episode. We're going to be covering all the episodes going forward in this post-crisis world. So I really want to see how things change and evolve after all of the changes that came after Crisis on Infinite Earths. So if you haven't seen last night's episode, be sure to tune out and come back once you have, because we're going to be diving into some spoilers. So here's your final warning before we jump into it now. So last episode ended with Lex and Brainy coming to the conclusion that they have to work together in order to save the world from a Leviathan. We get this little teaser shot of Wynn, who we think is Wynn, a doppelganger possibly, and we learn that this is an alternate reality Wynn. He is either a leftover from another Earth or timeline, or maybe even this new timeline's Wynn. I'm not too sure. Who knows with this whole timey-wimey kind of stuff going on. I can't be this version of Wynn, because the real Wynn comes back from the future in the Legion ship, knowing that his timeline is now at jeopardy because Lex unleashes this new Toyman onto the world. And seeing Wynn in this fashion, this evil version of the character, just like insane, playing up this role, eating it up, chewing it up, is just really great. It's fantastic. I always like when a character or an actor can go into crazy fun mode real well, and he pulls it off so good. And this Wynn has embraced the Toyman legacy and is after even one of his father's arch enemies, or rivals, as you would say to speak, in the toy genre, toy world, as he tries to assassinate him at a toy convention. As we move forward, the episode starts to progress, and we learn that with Lena's research, she's unable to track down or locate or lock on to this universe's Q-wave frequency anymore. So that gives me some ideas for the multiverse, because they said that Cisco and Brainy and them could not detect any of the other Earths, but the frequency in which they vibrate on, the frequency of the Q waves on this new Earth, is also different. They had to figure out what that frequency is. Lex, working with Lena, knows that the real Wynn is back from the future in a Legion ship, thinks that they might have that information of the future that he made a deal with Brady in order to obtain. And it makes me think that maybe after what Oliver did, that this is kind of what I was thinking anyway, as a personal theory. I don't know if I even stated in one of my videos, was that maybe the other Earths out there, the multiverse out there, is operating on a different frequency, a different wavelength, a different way that they are dissociated from the other Earths, where before it was different vibrational frequencies that they were able to detect them through those. Maybe Oliver made those changes not just with Q waves, but it also affected the way they detect that. And maybe our heroes, our team, hasn't really adapted to that. And maybe they'll never solve that. Maybe that's one way to keep the multiverse as a whole a little more safe. Now that Lex has also intruded the DEO and all of that kind of stuff, John has kind of built his own little tower, as he calls it, so that he can call his super friends, as he says, if they need any help. They talk about they've established a base of operations, with Future Wynn coming in and be like, in the future, we just call that the Hall of Justice. Two calls, two name drops, Hall of Justice, Super Friends. I love it. Maybe we're not going to have the Justice League. Maybe they won't ever call themselves that, but I do like the cheesiness of the Super Friends, especially with the Gleek hint that we got at the end of Crisis. That would be pretty interesting. But we see all the little symbols, the little nods to this. And throughout this whole thing, Brainy is also like orchestrating this, also trying to keep this Toyman that him and Lex have unleashed on the world and contained. Through his calculations, they should have been able to catch him at this, but he manages to escape by doing a replacement jutsu, like he's from freaking Naruto, and dropping, instead of a log, a freaking robot double in his place when Supergirl goes chasing after him, which is very comic book, very in line. Wynn from the future is very apt on stopping him, because in this new timeline, in his future now, where he's taking Brainy's place with the Legion of Superheroes, that he's developed a family, he's had a daughter, he's got a wife, and that this change in the timeline has alerted this time patrol to come in and try to arrest him, framed for the assassination of this person back in the past. And he's come back just wanting to make sure that he saves his family. That it's not really his legacy. It's not really about him. It's about just keeping and maintaining his family and that life that he's made for himself, and not letting the Toyman just further degrade him in that kind of way. John, during this period, also catches Winn up on all the changes with the past Earths, what happened before, and realizing, because he even comes back and he's like, what, superhero Lex? What's wrong with that? Another person who's on the Lex is a hero train. Throughout this entire time, you can definitely tell that Brainy is not liking working against his friends. He's got to cover things up, and he's getting frustrated when he realizes this Toyman that he's unleashed has not really worked against his simulations. Lex's involvement, because apparently Lex is such an unpredictable variable that he's having so much trouble trying to factor in all of these variables to what's going on. He thought everybody would be safe based on his calculations, the simulations. They should have caught Toyman at the toy convention, but they didn't. He got away. And he's just frustrated that he gets caught on the security camera trying to cover in on it and keep an eye on it as well. So he's got to hide that from his friends. And it's really starting to boil down to him. And it's getting really hard for him throughout. Throughout this, Andrea is revealing this new prototype for Obsidian and all that kind of stuff. And during this, Toyman launches his attack there to Eye of the Tiger. And it's ridiculous. It's hilarious. But he ends up getting stopped by Future Winn. They have this moment where he talks about their legacy, what it means, what it comes behind, and he just can't give into it. This Winn is completely corrupted, and he just self-destructs, blows everything up. Supergirl manages to get everybody out there, and Winn is able to survive. Future Winn is able to survive using the power of the Legion ring, and it's just hilarious little thing that they do towards the end of this. If everything's kind of coming to the close, Winn goes and talks to Brainy, and he's like, I've noticed you've been acting kind of weird. I wish you would come to this thing. We're all hanging out. I want to be there with my best friend, my partner. And he just, Brainy just breaks down to Winn and opens up about how torn and emotional it is. Because throughout this entire thing, he's just been cold, analytical, logical thinking Brainy, like a pure Brainiac would be. And you can tell that he doesn't like it. And towards the end, he just busts and breaks down. And Jesse Rath just emotes in this and loses it. And it's so sad. And he talks about how he thought he could control Lex. He thought he could do all this right. He planned, he plotted simulations. He thought he could keep everybody safe while working with Lex because that's the only way to do it. And he just breaks down. He's also afraid that, he's isolating Winn, losing that friendship. He's going to lose all of his friendships, lose that possibility of being back with Nia and all that kind of stuff. And he just breaks down. But Winn reassures him that, everything went according to plan. It didn't go exactly according to plan, but everything worked out. He trusts him. Everything's fine. He accepts Brainy's decision because it is in Brainy's mind for the greater good. And if that's what they need to do to save everybody, he supports him, and he'll keep his lips shut. He won't tell anybody. And that's just how it wraps up. It's just an emotional tie-in to the end of this episode. This was a really strong episode. So far, ever since post-crisis, I feel like these Supergirl episodes are actually really improving. I really like this episode. I like what they're doing with Lex, with Lena now, even though Lena, her logic is still stupid. But I like her interactions with Lex. I like how they're working together. I like how Lex is getting incorporated into this. I like how Brainy is like moving into this kind of like pseudo anti-hero kind of moment because he has to. And the way that the characters are portraying it all is really great. The actors are doing fantastic jobs in these merits. And, I just really like how they're evolving this storyline. I'm curious to see how they're going to bring Leviathan into that because Lex does get his hands on this data cube from the Legion ship that gives him everything he needs. It also gives Lena access to the Q-wave frequency of this new Earth so that she can use it in her experiments. So maybe she can bring that incorporated in with what she has of Myriad. Who knows where that's going to go. But the episode ends with a little cliffhanger of some of the effects, the evidence left over from Toyman's attacks, opening up this little like laptop briefcase, and just this recording plays back of him. So who knows? Maybe some kind of contingency. Maybe he didn't die. Maybe he got away. Or maybe it's just kind of like this AI personality that he uploaded into the web, the ether space or whatever. Who knows? I really enjoyed this episode. And Jesse Rath, who has become easily my favorite character in this series in Supergirl, not overall within the Arrowverse, but definitely in Supergirl. He freaking He's hilarious. He's emotive. He has this range, this just the Brainiac character. I don't know if it's what he's bringing to the table, the writers, the directors, or whatever, but him is just owning this. And I like how he's a key figure, linchpin, even if you will, in this current storyline. And he's doing a bang out job with that. And I really want to see where this goes. So that's my thoughts on this episode. I really want to know where this is all going to go from here. All these changes, the switches up, just the way that the Crisis has really kind of flipped the switch on a lot of these storylines, these worlds. I'm really digging it. It's not so much affecting Legends all that much or Black Lightning, but in Supergirl so far and Batwoman, it's really, really mixing things up, and I like it. And I can't wait to see how Flash is affected, because it seems like there's really those core CW Arrowverse Earth 1 original shows are the ones getting spiced up quite a lot. Well, Earth 1, Earth 38, not so much the surrounding ones, but we'll see. We'll see with, we got the final episode of Arrow coming out this week, and we got Flash coming back later next month. So we'll be picking up with that. So tune in. I'll catch you guys in the next episode of Supergirl as we follow forward with that. If you like this video, support the channel by liking, commenting, subscribing so we can carry on these conversations as the seasons progress. And that's it for this video, guys. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.